So the question is this: how do thought leaders, school dropouts, former and current students find out what's next after they do or don't cross that stage? If you want to know the secrets to starting the career or business of your dreams, getting paid whatever you desire, and discovering what you do the best with the least amount of effort, then this is the right podcast for you. I'm Shawn Anthony, and this is School's Over. Now What? The podcast. Welcome back to School's Over. Now What? The podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Anthony, and today's episode is extremely special. It features none other than New York real estate mogul himself, Ryan Serhant. You have seen him everywhere. He is a star of $1 Million Listing. He has his own show, It Like Serhant. He has $1.2 billion in real estate to sell and is also the top 5 real estate brokers in the country. This guy almost needs absolutely no introduction at all. Guys, I know you're excited for this one. You're pumped up for this one. On this particular episode, we'll understand what college did for him. We also will hear about how Ryan thinks it's so important that you treat your first 3 years after school in any profession like grad school. And most importantly, we talk about how you don't stop being a student after you graduate. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen this hyped up already. A huge shout out to Ryan, who recently released his vlog, which can be found at youtube.com/Ryan Serhant, and is already creating a lot of hype, guys. This is the interview that is featured on his latest episode. With that being said, we're going to jump right into this one. Get ready, buckle up. Episode 7, Don't Stop Being a Student After You Graduate, with Ryan Serhant.
Hey, man.
Ryan, man, how's it going, man? This is Shawn Anthony with the School's Over Now What podcast. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, man. I am thrilled. I'm excited to actually get you here on the show with us today, man. I know I got you for a brief time, so I want to kind of kick it off with, something a little bit different. And I want this to be a very special interview. And I don't want the Ryan in the suit. I want the Ryan in a t-shirt watching Netflix with a bowl of Oreo ice cream in hand.
Okay.
So could you take me back to you back as the kid in Boston? Let's talk about that.
Oh, man. As a kid in Boston, I moved to Boston when I was in 4th grade, and I basically grew up there on the North Shore. We moved to North Andover, and then we went to Topsfield, which is really where kind of like my childhood was. My parents had me try every sport known to man. My parents were very much into having me be well-rounded because they didn't want me to just want to try one thing and then it not work when I was 20 and then hate life and move back in with them. They wanted me to be very, very well-rounded, take every class I possibly could, try every sport possible, because when you're a little kid and you're in junior high and in high school, like, you can afford to try something and not have it work out. When you're older, it's harder to try something and not work out. So I credit them a lot for that. But I played sports and I sucked at them. And the one thing I liked doing was theater. So I got into theater a lot. I really liked movies. I loved more than just the idea of creating those stories. I started making little movies in the woods with my little brother and my mom, and my friends, and, everything from like the Blair Witch Project came out. Remember that movie? And I made my own, and I called it the Nair Witch Project. And that product Nair, that was big back then, which is like a hair removal thing. And it was this witch who would come and try to find me in the woods and take my leg hair. It was a true gem, that movie. And then, so I did a lot of that stuff. And then I went to college for English and theater and came to New York City to try to be an actor. Didn't work out. Ran out of money. Got my real estate license, so I didn't have to move home. And now I'm talking to you.
Wow, man. And you talk about your story, and it sounds like you tried a lot of different things, if I'm hearing you correctly. And once you found out, especially at that young age, how acting and, it sounds like that Nair Witch Project, it got a lot of hype, man. How many views did it get?
How many views? Like 3. I watched it. My little brother watched it. My mom watched it. That was it. This is also when I was in like sixth grade or something like that. So, using like my own home camcorder. So I would take these little mini VHS tapes and try to edit these movies together and make a bigger VHS tape. And I think they're all sitting in my parents' house in Colorado.
Wow. Can you imagine if people actually could see those?
That was before YouTube. This was before everything. I don't know. How old was I then? I guess I was 10. So this is 1994 and then 95, 96. Kind of like the mid to late 90s is when I was making all these movies.
Wow. So you go off to school, right? You go off to school and you go out for acting. Like, what were some of the hurdles when you were in school, just in the acting spectrum?
Listen, acting is a lot harder than it looks, right? It's not just reading lines off a page. That's like anybody can do that. But it's taking those lines and making it seem authentic and organic to a way that you're feeling now, whether you're feeling that way at all or not, right? And so that's hard. And so there was obstacles in it every day. I was a very shy kid growing up. I was very much an introvert. I liked watching movies. I liked doing my own thing. I didn't have many friends. And so then you try acting and they put you on a stage in front of like 50 people and they say, okay, be a chicken. Now be a tree. Now go to space. Now take a shower. Now do a somersault. And it's like, it's really uncomfortable and awkward. And I had to really get out of my skin. And I think a lot of that, even from a young age, trying to be an actor and trying to do theater and do improv and then coming to New York and trying it professionally, all of that, and I didn't know it at the time, but it all prepared me for being in sales. It helped open me up, helped get me out of my skin, helped me be able to go into a room and just start talking without feeling self-conscious. It helped me being able to improvise with new people that I'd never met before, helped me with the power of yes. Like, that's what theater and acting and improv is all about.
Wow.
Right? You don't say no to anything. You say yes and you figure it out. And that's what sales is. So as hard as it was and, not making it and all of that, it set me up for a career I didn't even know that I wanted.
Wow. So you kind of build your confidence. Like, what's the importance? We talk about sales, and sales relates to everything, I think, in anybody's career that they want to do. Like, how did you build that confidence within yourself?
It took me a really long time. I think that, I really had to convince myself that, like, what's the worst thing that can happen if I make a fool of myself or I go talk to someone who doesn't want to talk to me? Like, what's really going to happen? Someone's going to punch me in the face? Probably not, right? Unless I do something stupid. So don't do that. But other than that, like, everybody has the same feelings and the same concerns. Everyone is embarrassed in embarrassing situations. Everyone's nervous to meet new people. Like, everybody feels self-conscious here and there. And so when you realize that everyone feels the same way and that the worst thing that could happen is that someone turns away and doesn't talk to you, like, that's not a bad outcome. And so what do you have to lose? And then I just started building confidence from that and just saying, okay, well, I'm going to go talk to someone else who's probably self-conscious too. And we're going to talk about being self-conscious. And that was like my opening line going into, groups of people that I was uncomfortable going into and talking to them about how uncomfortable I was being in that group. And then it was funny. And then you start talking. And then you talk about the game last night. And then before you know it, like, you've got a best friend that you didn't even know that you wanted. But getting into sales, that confidence for me, because I wasn't from New York, right? I'm selling New York City real estate. I wasn't from here. I didn't know anything about selling or about real estate or about New York. So I didn't have that knowledge there. But I could memorize information quickly. And I spent a lot of time, like I said, trying to be an actor. So it was a lot of memorizing lines. And so I'd gotten pretty good at memorizing information. Yeah. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to memorize as much information about the city as possible and be a textbook on information so that when I meet clients and I see them, my confidence is going to be in what I know, not who I know. And that's not completely accurate in a way to, like, lead your life and build a career, because who you know is very important, obviously. Mm-hmm. But using that gave me a lot of confidence in saying, you know what, I'm going to meet a client today and I'm going to show them around the West Village. Before I'm going to meet them, I'm going to go to the West Village. I'm going to memorize all the information on all the buildings that I'm going to show them. I'm going to memorize all the street. I'm going to meet somebody in a coffee shop so I can say that I know them. I'm going to get really, really, really ready to go as if I've been here forever. And I'm going to rest on those facts as my confidence. And it worked. Like, you talk to someone who knows everything about a product, you don't ask them how long they've been in it, right? You just assume, wow, this person's been doing this a long time. He knows everything about that product. And that's how I got started, even though I'd only been in the business like 4 hours.
Wow. So it sounds like to me, like what you really, really did was you became a student, and you became a student of the game, and you absorbed so much knowledge. And that knowledge, it seems like it was power for you. So, there are so many students right now, whether they're in school or they're out of school, or even if they dropped out, they kind of start a job and everyone remembers the first day. Do you remember your first sale?
My first sale was for $369,000 at 3 Hanover Square. It was a client that started as a rental, rented them an apartment, and then they said, oh, by the way, we have this small little apartment in the financial district that we'd like to sell at the studio. We painted it bright red with green carpet. Do you know anyone who could sell it? And I was like, oh, I can sell it. They just trusted me. I think because it was so small, they knew that a bigger broker wouldn't even want to sell it. And they gave it to me, and I cleaned it up personally. I painted it. I treated that thing like gold, and we sold it. And that was my first sale. And then from there, I really farmed that area.
Wow.
But to go back to your last point too, I think it's really important. There's a lot of debate right now about higher education, right? You graduate high school, okay? You're a student and you say, now what, right?
Yeah.
So forget about the people that go to college and say, now what for right now? College isn't a bad thing if you want to continue learning and you don't necessarily know what you want to do. Like for me, if I had not gone to college, I would probably be at home in Colorado right now painting fence on a ranch, and that would be my life. Because what college did for me, college didn't put me into real estate. College, didn't put me on TV or give me a movie career, right? What college did for me was it opened up my mind to 1,000 different ideas and made me well-rounded so that when I did graduate and I did try to be an actor and I did fail at that and I had no money and I got my real estate license, I knew what to talk about. I knew what to think about. I knew how to interact with people. I knew how to write, right? So that I came at it with a professional mindset. So I don't want people thinking that going to college is a waste of money, because it's not. I would not be where I am today right now had I not gone to a liberal arts school that taught me how to think and how to write. But I think that also, let's say you graduate high school and you can't go to college, you can't afford it, okay, which is totally fine. Or you graduate college and everyone else around you is getting a master's degree or going to grad school, and you can't afford that either, which is fine. You have to treat your first 3 years in any job, in any profession, in any new city as grad school, okay? You can't graduate and expect to make millions of dollars. So if you're getting into sales, those first 3 years, be prepared to spend more money than you're actually going to make. It's very, very important, because when you go to grad school, you set yourself up for a better job, hopefully. You go to college, you set yourself up for a better job, hopefully. You spend a lot of money, right? You don't make any money. You spend a lot of money to do it, and then you hope to get a better job. The best part about treating life like grad school after you graduate is that it takes all the pressure off from making money, because you're already mentally prepared that you're not going to make money. So fuck the money. Just remember that you're there to learn. You're there to be a student for 3 years. At that point, you don't have to pay back student loans because you've been working those 3 years anyway, and now you're already set and prepared to be successful.
Wow. I mean, I think you just dropped so many gems in that particular moment. And when you talk about college and you talk about not paying for student loans, sometimes people hear about student loans, they get kind of scared. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't go to school. I can't do this. I can't do that. Can you talk to me a little bit about what someone could be doing in high school so they can prepare themselves, to be less risk to have those loans?
I mean, you can work, right? I mean, a lot of people get jobs early on and they start working. They do lots of different types of jobs. You can sell shoes on eBay. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do these days to make side money. I mean, you can pick up a video camera, teach yourself on YouTube how to be a videographer, and then run around and say, hey, will you pay me $50 a day to make a video for you? Now you just made $50 that day, and that's money you didn't have in your pocket before. There's 1,000 ways that you can make money to start saving up for potentially higher education or further education to pay loans off, right?
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily need to take on student debt. You don't necessarily need to go to school, especially right after you graduate. I think a lot of people that are really successful don't necessarily go on to higher education the day they graduate high school. They do it later when they're ready. Once they figured out exactly what they want to do or how they want to do it. For me, that wouldn't have worked because my mindset was not there yet, and I needed to go to college to figure out what exactly I wanted to do as a human being, let alone what I wanted to do as a profession.
For sure. I mean, and I like that, the fact that college helped you become the human being that you are today. So I can only imagine the many times people have given you great advice. What's some of the best advice that you received while you were going through all of these different things?
It's twofold. I think there's a great quote I love. It says, I'd rather regret the things I tried than the things I never did.
Wow.
And I think that, I like that. It's important to me to try as much as you possibly can. Right. And I don't live with regret anyway, but like that was advice that was given to me by someone when I came to New York City because I was kind of freaking out. I had no money. I was going to go to law school, but then I couldn't get in anywhere because my scores were so bad on that damn SAT test. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go with no money to New York City, the most expensive city in the world, try to be an actor, which means no one's going to pay me anything ever, at least for a long time. And that was really, really risky. Like, you know what? I'd rather regret having, tried this than sit at home somewhere else regretting the fact that I never even tried it. Because you never know, right? It's kind of like, it's like why you don't know what you like to eat until you actually try it, right? You don't know if you like traveling until you actually try it. You don't know if you like that sport until you actually try it. And that's something my parents really instilled in me when I was a little kid. And then for business, the most important piece of advice I was ever given has to do with what you talked about at the beginning of this podcast, which is confidence and how to have confidence and how to, you look at athletes, right? Look at an athlete who, I don't know. Let's think back. What's a good example? Like the Winter Olympics that just happened, right? Shawn.
Perfect.
Okay. You get 3 runs down the half pipe. After the second run, he'd already won, right? He'd already won. And then the third run down, he could have gone easy. He could have gone, simple, not taking any risks, but he went bigger than he did the first 2 times because he did it as if he had already won. So how do you trick your mind into doing that in any situation? You play like you have the money in your pocket already, right? You go into the room like you already have the job. You go on the first date like it's your third date. That mindset has really, really helped me figure out how to stay confident in situations where I have absolutely no confidence. And it's just a mental game. It's a mental play that you do for yourself. And I think those are the 2 biggest pieces of advice I've got.
Man, I mean, that's phenomenal. And we put out there, on our Instagram profile, we put out there what were some of the questions that you would want to ask Ryan Serhant if you had the chance. And I think this is a perfect time to ask this question. It was written by @Kiera's Photography. And she asked, what is the one thing you do to stand out?
What's the one thing I do to stand out? Well, I don't dye my hair anymore like I did when I first moved to the city. So now I'm like this premature gray, really tall dude walking down the street. So I think I stand out that way. I'm consistently trying to change. Change is a good thing. Change is a great thing. And I'm consistently trying to reinvent myself and change. And I think that I try to stand out that way. So real estate's good. Okay. But you know what? It's not good enough. So I'm going to do a TV show about it. All right. You know what? That's out there. Good. Not good enough. I'm going to do another TV show about helping people to sell because I want to change people's perception of me as just being a salesperson. I want to help other people. All right. That show's out. I want to help even more people. I'm going to write a book. Book comes out in September, right? About how to help people build a sales career. That's also not good enough for me. So I just launched an app yesterday about how to play a game as a real estate agent, building yourself up to be a real estate mogul in New York City, and people are downloading it like crazy and loving it. And
amazing.
Those are ways that I consistently change and adapt myself so that I can stand out amongst the competition.
Oh, that's amazing. And you touched on something that I'm glad you did, because I'm pretty sure listeners they want to hear about this. You have this new book, It Like Serhant, that's coming out in the fall.
Yeah.
So what 2 tips, what kind of sneak preview, what can you give the listeners, especially those guys that are currently asking themselves, school's over, now what gems can you give us from that book?
So the book I wrote it for people in that position, honestly. It is that, because that was me. I graduated college, thought I was going to do one thing, but then it didn't work out. So now what? And I got my real estate license, figured out how to sell real estate, and just started doing it. Tried some luck along the way and a lot of hard work. So I didn't take a day off for the first 3 years. And so the book is for people that want to make extra money, either by making a sales job their career and doing that 24/7, or making it a side hustle. If you have a full-time job or you're a student and you want to make a little extra cash, this is the book that's going to tell you how to do that. And for those who really, really, really love the idea of supplementing their income or making a lifestyle for themselves that they didn't even think was possible based on where they grew up, who their families are, what kind of schools they went to, they thought that maybe this kind of money was never even in the cards for them. You learn how to sell, you create your own destiny moving forward. And that's what this book is for.
Man, you've dropped so many gems today. Ryan, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. It's been an absolute pleasure. I would love to keep in touch with you. And I want to make sure people have a chance to figuring out, okay, where can I find the book? Where can I find out more about Ryan? We know he's on $1 Million Listing. How can they get in touch with you? And just give us all your info, man.
So you can find me everywhere. You can catch me on Bravo Tuesday night, 10/9 Central, $1 Million Listing New York. You can follow my vlog on YouTube, youtube.com/Ryan Serhant. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all at Ryan Serhant. The book, go to sellitelikeserhant.com, pre-order it. Comes out in September. And the app, find it on the App Store, Agent Empire NYC.
Awesome. Ryan, we appreciate you. And as always, for all of our listeners, remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it. Yo, what you think? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I want to know what you learned. So if you wouldn't mind, would you take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast on your phone right now? Upload to your Instagram stories, tag me at Shawn R. Anthony _, and then let me know in that Instagram story what is one thing that you learned. I love hearing from you, my listeners, thought leaders, former or current students all around the world. Let me know, and while you're doing this, go inside the podcast app, subscribe, leave a 5-star review and a 5-star rating. Again, this helps us reach more people. And if you want to be a part of this mission, helping us change the world one person at a time, it makes a massive difference by you leaving a review. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week. And remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it.